Let them look to the past, but let them also look to the future. Let them look to the land of their ancestors, but let them also look to the land of their children. This quote was found on BrainyQuotes.com and was by Wilfred Laurier. Ancestry is an important part of many people's lives, and it is important that you understand where your family has come from and why you are where you have made it today. Ancestry does not only affect you, but it has affected your parents and other relatives, but it will also affect the future generations. Hi, I am Marissa Bormann, and I chose to complete this oral history project over my Grandma Bormann's side of the family. First, I am going to discuss what I already knew about my ancestry. I knew that my mom's side is Dutch. I also knew that my dad's side is German. I knew that both sides had people come over to the United States by a boat. I also knew that my grandma has certain antiques that represent our ancestry and where we came from. Through knowing these things, I was able to create a few questions that I could ask my grandma about our ancestry. Next, who did I choose to interview? I chose to interview my grandma on my dad's side. My grandma's ancestry has impacted the entire family and where we are today. My grandma was a Bradhauer, but married into the Bormann family. She is German. Through knowing that she is German, I was able to ask her a few things that I thought would be important to note. These included who came over on the boat, where are they buried at, who was the oldest relative you remember, what antiques do you have from your ancestors, why did they come here, and how has this impacted you today? I felt that this information gave me more of an idea as to why they came here and how they came here. The first question that I asked was, who came over on the boat? This person is my grandma's great-grandfather, Christian Bradhauer. He came over here with pretty much nothing, but was able to build something once he arrived to the United States. He resided in Clinton County, Iowa, where he farmed. The next question that I asked was, where is he buried at? Her great-grandfather is buried along the Goose Lake Preston Blacktop. This location is a Preston, Iowa address. What makes it significant to our family today is that most of my family lives around the Preston, Iowa area, which is a part of the Jackson County, Clinton County area. This shows that since he has been buried in this area, people chose to stay in the area and continue the farming business that he had built. The next question, which I found to be important to learning about my ancestry, was asking, who was the oldest relative that you remember? The oldest relative that she remembers is her great-grandfather, Herman Bradhauer. He took over the farming business when Christian Bradhauer, my grandma's great-grandfather, could no longer do so. Additionally, the oldest family members on the Bormann Bradhauer side that I remember is my grandma and grandpa Bormann. They were also a part of the farming business, which has been recently taken over by my dad's brother. The farming business is continuing to be passed on from one generation to the next. This is due to the fact that my grandma's great-grandfather, Christian Bradhauer, chose to come to the United States by boat. I then chose to ask, what antiques do you have from your ancestors? My grandma has many antiques that she has received from her ancestors. These include a side corner table, a piano stool, a glass dish, and a buffet. Each of these items represent an important piece of my family's ancestry. First, the side corner table is an important piece of our ancestry because it represents an item that my grandma Bormann received from her great-grandmother. This item is something that represents my grandma Bormann's great-grandma who came over to the United States from Germany. Next, the piano stool was also an important piece of our ancestry. This is because it represents an item that my grandma Bormann received from her great-grandmother. This item represents our German heritage because she received it from her great-grandma from Germany. Another item that represents an important piece of our history is a glass dish. This glass dish represents one of our ancestors. This came from her great-aunt Meme. My grandma has stories as to how and why this glass dish continues to be passed down from one generation to the next. The buffet is a final antique that represents my ancestry. This antique is different from all of the other ones because it represents my grandpa Bormann's side of the family. This buffet is an item that has always been something that has been noticed in my grandma's house. Everyone who goes into her house knows what the green buffet is and what it represents. This is an antique that my grandparents had received through my grandpa's side. The next question that I chose to ask my grandma about our ancestry was, why did they come here? My ancestors chose to come to the United States. Like many other people who come to the United States, they wanted to come here in order to live a better life. They were able to accomplish this through their hard work and dedication. Through my grandma's great-grandparents, they were able to understand why they wanted to come here and make that dream a reality. It is obvious that the reason they chose to come to the United States was to build a farming empire. This empire should continue to be built up until this day. There are many people in my family who partake in the farming industry, and it is a part of many of our daily lives. This shows that even though they came to the United States with pretty much nothing to start out with, they were able to build a farming business that is continuing to grow today. It is important to note that the same areas are still being farmed by many of my relatives. This history is never going to go away because many people in my family understand the reason as to why our ancestors chose the United States. I chose to share some of my ancestors' pictures that my grandma showed during our interview. The first image is of my great grandmother, Laura Feller Bormann. This would be my grandpa's mother. She represents my ancestry because she is a part of a person who chose to come to the United States from Germany and reside in Jackson County. The next image is of my great grandpa Bradhauer. This would be my grandma's father. He also represents my ancestry because he is also a part of a person who chose to come to the United States from Germany and reside in Clinton County. The following image is a picture of my grandma Borman and her cousin Judy. I thought that this was an interesting picture because many people do not know their grandmother's cousins, and I thought that it was interesting that she had images of them together. The final image is of my great grandpa Bradhauer and my great aunt. I thought that this image was interesting because I got to see what my great aunt and my great grandfather looked like on my grandma's side. The final question that I chose to ask my grandma was, how has this impacted all of us today? The reason I asked about all of us is because it has not only impacted my grandma, but it has impacted my parents and my close relatives such as my aunts, uncles, and cousins. We have all been impacted because the farming business is still continuing to grow in our family. There are many people in my family who enjoy farming and do it as their way of life. They continue to show the hard work and dedication through making farming their full-time job. Also, the family members that do not farm help out on the farm whenever they can. It has also impacted us because most of us are still located in the same location where our ancestors had arrived to from Germany, and we know where to find the burial site where these ancestors are buried. Our roots are never going to go away because we understand that our ancestors came here for and why they chose to come to this area. To wrap everything up, there is a story to our ancestry. Through this interview with my grandma Borman, I was able to develop more of an understanding of our ancestry and more of an awareness as to why we are where we are today. It is important that you never forget your roots because it has taken many people a lot of hard work and dedication to get to the point where you are today. My family has shown that America is somewhere where you can come with nothing to start, but you can build something from it. Overall, understanding your ancestry is an important part of your life.